Please be upstanding for the Mayor of Wirral, Councillor Tony Smith.
Thank you all. Please take your seats. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Council's annual meeting. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest? No? Before I make my announcements, I am aware of the following apologies. Councillors Kate Cannon, Andy Corkill, Pat Cleary, Emily Gleaves, and Chris Cook. Are there any further apologies? Yes. Thank you. And Paul Hayes. Sorry? Councillors Cottier, Spriggs and Walsh. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, no other apologies? Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll move on to the Mayor's announcements. I would like to briefly speak about Geoffrey Watts, who very sadly passed away in 2020. I was Deputy Mayor when Geoffrey was Mayor and benefited from his help and advice before taking office. One of my saddest mayoral duties in 2020 was attending Geoffrey's funeral. He is much missed. I also attended the funeral of Margaret Green, Mayor of Wirral from 1998 to 1999, who died recently. It has been a great privilege to represent Wirral Borough Council as Mayor on so many occasions, but carrying out this role would be impossible without the support of a number of wonderful people. Sue Carroll, together with Sonia in the office, have been the key to the fantastic organisation behind mayoral engagements. Sue has been our go-to person for the last 2 years and the key to everything. We always had total confidence that Sue would be there, whatever arose, and smooth the path, whatever we were doing. Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Sonia, for all your hard work and support. Thank you, Paul, our driver, protector, photographer, and supporter on visits. He always made sure we arrived on time, in spite of us not always being ready, and was able to find a parking space when anyone else would have given up. Thank you to the members of the Charity Committee who worked hard in the background at every event to help raise a substantial amount of money, mainly given to our two charities, Dementia Together Wirral and the Open Door Centre. The funding of the Mayor's charity was able to give to the Open Door Centre. The funding the Mayor's charity was able to give to the Open Door Centre has enabled them to develop their younger therapeutic intervention, Electric Islands, a support initiative for 11 to 14-year-olds. The funding has allowed them to effectively address the gap in mental health services for this age group so that young people have somewhere to turn when they have significant mental health challenges. Dementia Together Wirral were forced to suspend their usual activities during lockdowns, but supported service users and volunteers with much appreciated gift baskets, gift boxes and gift cards. An activity box project was started and is moving towards a target of 100 boxes. They are now moving forward and hoping to reinstate the memory cafes and other activities. In March 2020, COVID lockdowns made it impossible to carry out normal mayoral engagements. Almost everything went online or outdoors. Tony Hope did the media work with videos and photo opportunities so that important events and anniversaries did not go unremembered. Wreaths were laid, flags raised, 100 birthday cards sent, art competitions judged, certificates signed, and a myriad other activities kept us busy. Thank you, Tony. Our connections with Wirral Met College are very important, and they hosted a number of mayoral events during 2019 to 2020. We were fortunate also to be invited to attend student awards events. Thank you also to Father Lucas, my chaplain, who supported me during my time in office. The role of a public representative could not be carried out for 2 years without an enormous amount of support from family. Our families were very proud and supportive, and our grandchildren loved it that their granddad was mayor. I especially want to take this opportunity to thank my wife Barbara for her unwavering support and help. We worked as a team. It has been an exceptional honour being Mayor of Wirral, and very humbling to witness firsthand all the good work that goes on in Wirral, and to be aware of how important the mayoral role is in representing Wirral at services and occasions of remembrance throughout the year. We covered many events, from 2 royal visits to judging sandcastles on the beach in New Brighton, and standing in for Paul Hollywood and Prue Leith at a Great British Bake Off event at Manor Primary School. So many spectacular cakes. In May 2019, Wirral was halfway through its term as Borough of Culture for the Liverpool City region. The culture team did a magnificent job in showcasing Wirral at its very best. September was a bumper month, in particular for Birkenhead Park, the site of the World Food and Drink Festival, and outdoor concerts by the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra, the Christians, Lightning Seeds and China Crisis. We were so excited on Wirral to see the stage 5 of the OVO Energy Cycling Tour of Britain speeding through our towns and villages and finishing in Birkenhead Park. Another September highlight for Wirral was the visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Sir David Attenborough for the ceremonial naming of the polar explorer RRS Sir David Attenborough. Many people will remember the wonderful penguins from Wirral primary schools. The constellations and the Museum of the Moon attracted thousands of visitors, and the grand finale was the River of Light firework extravaganza in November. Our own world-renowned sculptor, Oxton resident Emma Rogers, designed the Borough of Culture sculpture, which we handed over to Sefton at the Culture and Creativity Awards held in the Lady Lever Museum in November 2019. Also in September, the Mayor hosted a special ceremony at Birkenhead Town Hall for the unveiling of a bust of one of history's great naval heroes of Peru, Admiral Grau, whose ship had been built at Laird Brothers in Birkenhead, now Camel Laird, and launched in 1866. It has pride of place at the top of the staircase in Birkenhead Town Hall. The meeting with the Peruvian delegation was a memorable occasion. We attended some notable historical anniversaries, including the celebration of 145 years of the YMCA in Birkenhead. What wonderful work Nigel Hughes and his team do for the homeless. On the 25th of June 2019, Princess Anne arrived by helicopter in Birkenhead Park to officially reopen Mary Cole House, which is operated by Wirral Church's ARC project for homeless people. So much good work is done in Wirral to help vulnerable residents. We witnessed much of it firsthand, and all of these groups have redoubled their efforts since the beginning of the pandemic. They are all to be congratulated. Our final engagement yesterday was to cut the ribbon for the opening of the Lighthouse, a family-friendly support centre for victims of domestic abuse in Wirral. We also attended the celebration of 100 years of Upton Victory Hall, where I had played tennis with my children in the 1990s. At Hamilton Square, we dedicated 9 memorial stones to Wirral's World War I Victoria Cross recipients. We attended many charity functions and were able to witness the huge sums of money that is raised for local charities by the Birkenhead Lions, Inner Wheel, Sir Optimist and Rotary clubs. We were bowled over by the amazing array of talent on Wirral. We were invited to plays, pantomimes, opera, orchestral evenings, school performances, choirs, dance, gardens, art and craft displays, historical, multicultural and sporting events, and much more. It has been sad that so much was put on hold at the onset of the pandemic, but hopefully there will be some return to normality soon. I was delighted to be at Wembley when Tranmere won the League Two playoffs and then to host the victorious team at Birkenhead Town Hall. A truly memorable weekend. Many of the engagements we attended involved our magnificent young people in schools and numerous other environments. We presented many awards, and I will particularly mention the World Civic Awards for children aged 8 to 12, the secondary school Pathfinders and Mini Pathfinders for Year 6 pupils. It is now time to hand over the chains of office to a newly elected mayor. Thank you. Right. Now, turning to agenda item 3 and the election of mayor, may I have nominations for the office of mayor of the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral for the 2021-2022 municipal year.
I'd like to nominate Councillor George Davis.
Sorry?
I'd like to nominate Councillor George Davis.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder, please?
I would like to second Councillor George Davis.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to the nomination? Jeanette? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to speak to this about Councillor George Davis. He's lived in Clawton for over 50 years. He attended St Joseph Primary School in Upton and then went on to St Hugh's Secondary Modern. After leaving school, George became an apprentice at the Victory Kidder, attending Birkenhead Technical College. After completing his apprenticeship, he moved to Vauxhall Motors as a maintenance fitter, where he remained for 32 years. George has been married to Kath for 52 years, and they have 3 children, Joanne, Gary and John, and 7 grandchildren. George first cut his teeth politically when he stood in Heswell in 1987, before being elected to the council the following year, winning the Clawton seat, which he's retained ever since. His agent at the time, Steve Fowkes, followed the next year, and the rest is history. He formed a strong team in Clawton and has worked with Denise Roberts and Andy Day, both sadly missed, and currently has the support of his ward colleagues, Steve Fowkes and Jill Wood. His early community work was as chair of Bidston Avenue PTA. He was famous for his teddy bear stall at the summer fair with his lifelong pal Ricky Lorden. He went on to be chair of governors for over 25 years. He was also a governor at St Anselm's and the new Birkenhead High School for Girls, and he's dedicated to children's education. George was a driving force behind the Aquarius Swimming Club for many years, and literally thousands of children have benefited from this. An annual event was their open day at Wayfair's Cricket Club, which always ended with a mass footy match, kids versus parents, sometimes 20 aside. He overseen a refurb of the Noctorum estate, amongst many other fantastic achievements. George has been a regular on many mayor's charity committees, and for many years attended Our Lady's quiz nights in a team called the Barflies, who went on apparently to win the mayor's charity quiz, but we don't think there was a fix there. George is known and liked by everyone. His closest friends say he generates loyalty, and Steve Fowkes says he has become like his brother. George then encouraged councillors like Julie McManus to become a councillor. His grandson Ben took a politics degree inspired by his granddad. George has held various roles and responsibilities. He has been a member of the Fire Authority for 10 years, and for the past 7 years he's been deputy leader of the council. He's been dedicated to housing, serving as cabinet member and former member of So George was also on the Housing Committee for many years, a role which he enjoyed immensely, and what George doesn't know about housing isn't worth knowing. George is an avid Evertonian and is a season ticket holder, which is quite a bit after tonight's performance. I don't know whether I should have gone there. And quite clearly a man of impeccable taste and accustomed to regular disappointments. And I say this as an Evertonian. As we know, the last year has been one like no other, and quite clearly tonight is not what we had come to expect or experience in terms of a civic ceremony. However, I know George will embrace this new role with his heart and soul. And I'd just like to say a few words on his wife, Kath. Kath attended Our Lady in St Edward Primary School and then went on to Our Lady's Secondary School for Girls before leaving to attend Miss Middleton's Secretarial College. Whilst at school, Kath studied shorthand and typing, gaining a diploma from Birkenhead Technical College before beginning work at the Royal Live of Friendly Society as a junior clerk. While there, Kath also trained as a telephonist. Kath then moved to what was BT's in Birkenhead, where she worked as a telephonist and typist. When their youngest child was leaving infant school, Kath began studying for her NNEB certificate in early years at Withens Lane College. She then went on to work in various social services establishments and primary schools before gaining a permanent position at Riverside Primary School, before retiring in 2013. There then followed a spell at Bidston Avenue Primary School before completely retiring in 2016. Kath's hobbies are reading, walking her granddaughter's dog and singing in a local choir. She also enjoys social evenings with her family and friends. I'd like to send George and Kath all the best wishes from the Labour Group They will make a wonderful mayor and mayoress. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson, do you want to? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I first begin my remarks by paying tribute to you and Barbara for all the hard work and service that you've given to the borough over the past tumultuous couple of years. I didn't think that anyone would have thought that 2 years ago, when you were installed as mayor, our amazing borough, the country, and indeed the world would have faced such adversity. And you have faced this adversity, Mr. Mayor, with such great resolve, supporting your two charities, Dementia Together and the Open Door Centre, as well as all the virtual meetings and physical meetings and rural visits you mentioned earlier. So, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Conservative Group, once again, thank you for your service. Mr. Mayor, coming on to the incoming Mayor, well, what can I say about George? Well, I think to start with, it's all agreed that he's a very nice and very well-liked chap. His years of service to the borough are nothing short of remarkable, and has already been mentioned by Councillor Williamson, he served the people of Clawton for the past 33 years, has been a member of the Fire Authority for the last 10 years, and he was Deputy Leader of the Council for 7 years. But George also served on the Housing Committee, and as Jeanette said, what he doesn't know about housing is not worth knowing, for the past 25 years. And George really does go above and beyond for his residents. For example, I'm told on election day in Clawton one year, George, along with his ward colleagues, went to a care home in a minibus to pick up some residents to take them along to vote. So as soon as the bus pulled up at the polling station and George opens the door, the residents scattered everywhere. And it took George over an hour to find 3 of them in the Heather Brown pub. And George is a very kind person, Mr. Mayor. When I was first elected to the council at 21 years of age, yes, I was the future once, I walked into the members' room, logged onto the system, and was faced with a pile of casework. And struggling through, without knowing which best people to contact, George came over and said, "Is there anything I can do to help?" He then took the time to direct me to the best officers to speak to. And looking somewhat surprised when I thanked him, George smiled and said, "In this room we are friends," and he pointed to the council chamber, "But in there, mate, the gloves are off." But that wasn't the first time I met George. As part of his service to Wirral, as been mentioned, George was a governor of 3 schools, and one of those was St Anselm's College, the school I attended. And it was there, as a 17-year-old, doing my politics A-level, with 2 other of my closest friends that I first came across George. In fact, Mr. Mayor, so impactful was our meeting with George that we did take up his encouragement to get involved in politics, and 4 years later we joined the council as 3 Conservative councillors. In fact, I've heard a few rumours actually that George might be considered for a gong for services to the Conservative Party. But George continues his record as a governor who produces the most councillors, and I believe another one of our ranks, Councillor Walsh, newly council elected for Bebington for the Green Party. So you're getting closer, George. But seriously, Mr. Mayor, George is a steadfast public servant who I will know will make a fantastic first citizen of the borough, who will devote his time to charity work, represent Wirral to the outside world and supporting our communities. And I've just got one final word of warning from his friend and ward colleague, Councillor Fawkes, on this, that the biggest pitfall to all this is that George is notoriously late for everything. And that includes Zoom meetings. And according to Steve, the only downside to meeting in person now is that George can't forget to unmute his microphone. So George, on behalf of the Conservative Group, may I wish you and Kath a successful and prosperous mayoral year. I know you'll do a fantastic job and we wish you all the best. Your success will be Wirral's success. Thank you.
Thank you. I now ask, are there any other nominations? Right, in the absence, can we take that by assent then? Agreed, yeah, thank you. Right, in the absence of any other nominations, I declare that Councillor George Davies is hereby elected Mayor of the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral.
The Mayor, Councillor George Davies, will now leave the auditorium to enable him to change into the mayoral robes, and the council meeting will stand adjourned until his return.
Okay, while Councillor George Davies is being robed, would members and guests remain seated and watch a short slideshow of photographs taken during my year in office. I hope the photographs will give you a good feel for the mayoral year and the kindness and warmth of Wirral people whose successes and achievements we celebrated and remembered. Okay. Thank you.
Members, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the return of the Mayor. Can I ask that you remain standing whilst Councillor Tony Smith invests the Mayor with the chain of office. I would now like to invite the Mayoress, Mrs. Catherine Davis, onto the stage so the Mayor can invest her with the Mayoress's badge of office. The Mayor will now present Councillor Tony Smith with the past Mayor's badge. I would like to invite Mrs. Barbara Smith to the stage so that the Mayor can present her with the past Mayoress's badge. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mayor will now formally make his declaration of office.
I now invite Councillor George Davis to make his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, George Davis, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code of conduct which is expected of members of the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral. Thank you. Can I ask the members please to sit? Thank you. Thank you, members. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats, which I have just said. Mayor's speech is going to be a little bit difficult because the two sponsors for me today, Jeanette and Tom, have said a lot of the things that I've written down, so I don't know who has fed them all the information, but I'll try and make it worthwhile. First of all, I would like to welcome honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, councillors and family and friends to New Brighton's iconic Floral Pavilion. I promise I will not sing, as I have sensed a stage where so many famous people have stood. I am so very proud and honoured to stand here as the elected Mayor of Wirral for this coming year, 2021 to 2022. I feel humbled to stand here when we reflect over the last year. COVID-19 has impacted on every part of our lives, and I would like to pay my respect on behalf of Wirral Council to all families who have lost a loved one or suffered in any way. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the key workers whose talent, skill and bravery throughout this pandemic continue to amaze and inspire me. Fellow councillors, I am looking forward to my year as Mayor and would like to thank each and every one of you for your loyal support and trust. I will diligently serve the people of Wirral to the best of my ability. It is an honour and a privilege to become Mayor of Wirral, a peninsula that makes me proud. I would like to thank Tony and Barbara, the retiring Mayor and Mayoress, for their support and guidance during our time as Deputy Mayor and Mayoress. Myself and Kath have enjoyed working alongside you. I would also like to thank Sue, the mayoral attendants and all the staff in the mayoral office who do much work to ensure everything runs smoothly. I look forward to working for the full year with you. Kath and I are delighted to share this evening with our family and friends. It means so much to us both to have you all here tonight. Although socially distanced, we are under one roof. I would like to thank Kath and our 3 children for their partners, Joanne and Ian, Gary and Donna, and John and Lisa, for all their love and support. Our grandchildren, Ben, Olivia, Chantal, Alicia, Dylan, Harvey and Finley, mean the world to us, and we hope tonight is an occasion that they will always remember. I was born in 15 Brill Street, Birkenhead, 1945, just after the war. We moved 2 years later to Upton, and latterly to Woodchurch. My parents, Winnie and George, would be proud to see me here tonight, although my dad would have prepared me to be conservative. My dad was a plumber by trade and was known throughout Upton, as was my Uncle Jack, who ran the local butchers. I have fond memories of going to pick up the meat for the family Sunday roast. I was an only child, but had lots of family on both sides, so I was always in good company. I attended St Joseph Primary School and later St Hugh's, known as the Ozzers. I enjoyed school and in particular sport. Our football team had 4 years undefeated, and I can remember that as though it was yesterday. I left school at 15 and began a 5-year apprenticeship at the Victory Kidder in Malaby Street. At the same time, I was also fortunate enough to play for Tranmere Rovers, which was such an honour. Sadly, it was only one season due to a serious injury. As soon as I finished my apprenticeship, I secured a position at Vauxhall Motors as a maintenance fitter, where I had 33 happy years working with plenty of characters, many of whom I still see to this day. I can honestly say one of the best days of my life was meeting my beautiful wife, Kath, and best friend Kath, at Our Ladies Youth Club back in 1962. Kath was there with her friend Anne, and I was with my mate Mike. They too ended up getting married, and Kath was working in the Liver buildings at the time, and we were fortunate to enjoy the amazing swinging 60s and have many happy memories. As a true gent, I always walked Kath home, but if I missed my bus, it was a long walk home to Upton. We got engaged in 1965 and married in 1967 at Our Ladies Church, Birkenhead. In 1968, our daughter Joanne was born, followed by Gary in 1970, and John followed in 1977. Then our family was complete. We have been blessed with 7 wonderful grandchildren who continue to amaze us both and make us so very, very proud. I can honestly say, I'm sorry, I think I've got things wrong there. You know what happens? Yeah. Sorry, I have. Yeah. I can honestly say, one of the best days of my life. Oh, God, that's. See, got me going now. Having children, we all know different paths. All 3 children were keen swimmers and belonged to Wirral Aquarius Swimming Club. It was here that I became a swimming coach and again met some wonderful lifelong friends. When my children started school at Preston Avenue, I was keen to get involved and join the Parents Association Committee, raising money for the school funds. I can honestly say that this was the beginning of my political career. I became a parent governor at Preston Avenue and have been chair of governors for over 30 years. I am also a governor at St Anselm's College and Birkenhead Academy. I am proud of this role and enjoy being involved with local schools that make a difference to so many of our children. Through my time at Preston Avenue, I was fortunate to meet Walter Smith. As many of you know, he was a wonderful councillor, elected mayor and a true gentleman. It was he who suggested I should investigate becoming a local councillor. The rest, as they say, is history. I first became a councillor in 1988 and have served 9 elections successfully. Being a councillor in my local ward has and is a full-time job. I always try my very best to deal with any issues, big or small. One of my proudest moments was when I was elected Chair of Housing. This allowed me to work alongside a great team to deliver quality housing throughout Wirral, especially those areas where poor housing was prevalent. It is challenges like this that I believe make a good councillor. I have the thirst to make things better for the people of Wirral. I am sure many of you who know me are fully aware that I am a true blue deep at heart. I have supported Everton Football Club all my life and I've been a season ticket holder in the Park End stand with my son and grandsons. I am looking forward to returning to Everton as soon as we can. My 2 chosen charities for my mayoral year will be Wirral University Teaching Hospital charity, specifically their Tiny Stars neonatal department and the Wirral's RNLI. Tiny Stars, a little bit about both sets now. Tiny Stars neonatal charity raises money to help the neonatal unit at Arab Park Hospital, which is a designated level 3 neonatal intensive care unit, one of only 2 in Cheshire and Merseyside. The neonatal unit has 24 cots, which enables the team to provide specialised care for babies from around 22 weeks of pregnancy. The charity needs to raise 1.5 million over the next 3 years to allow for refurbishments and reconfiguration of the ground floor to expand the existing neonatal unit. Kath and I visited the unit as Deputy Mayor and Mayoress, and we both felt that this was a charity that we would like to support. Seeing the little tiny babies, so fragile, being nurtured through the expertise from the neonatal staff demonstrated to us how every baby premature or born poorly deserves the best possible start in life. Our second charity, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, is a charity that we feel is a vital service, especially as we live on a peninsula surrounded by water. There will not be a household in Wirral that does not have a connection with the Seal family members who went to sea: uncles, dads, sons, nephews, aunties, sisters, brothers. I could go on. But I feel sure you get the picture. There are also those that built the vessels down at Laird's, those who repaired and modified them, those who supplied goods and chattels prior to the voyages from a host of Wirral companies, even down to those whose jobs it was to load and unload the cargo at the docks, and not forgetting those who ensured the activity of seafaring. The sea is probably the most dangerous place on earth, and is borne out by statistics that it is the coastal zone that is probably the most dangerous area connected with seafaring. Activities in the coastal zone are too numerous to mention, but life-threatening incidents are now unfortunately quite common, especially as folks take to our local waters and stunning coastline here in the Wirral to pursue their leisure activities involved in all sorts of pastimes, from sailing to sandcastle building. Fortunately, we have an army of men and women, volunteers, who at the sound of a pager are prepared to drop everything to go to the aid of those in distress. I, of course, refer to the life-saving volunteers of the RNLI, who freely give up their own time 24/7, 365 days a year. Most folks only see lifeboat personnel whilst engaged in the physical process of rescue. But let us not forget, they do not come ready trained. The time and effort required in obtaining the skills set to be an effective rescuer is both time-consuming and demanding, as well as exhausting and costs money. This service relies on public subscription for its income and receives no government funding. The money, both locally and nationally, is raised by another troop of volunteers to dedicate their time to raising such funds. It is with this knowledge that I have decided to name the RNLI in Wirral one of my major charities. And I know, without being presumptuous, I will be supported by the citizens of Wirral. Just to give you an example of lifeboat activity, I know New Brighton launched more than 100 times during our COVID lockdown period and are credited with saving 10 lives. And at the time of writing this speech, the service calls are already up to about 25 this year. Please support my charities this year, as I feel sure you will all know they are more than worthy of our assistance and involvement. Thank you. The next business is the appointment of Deputy Mayor. May I have nominations for the office of Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that Councillor Jeff Green be appointed Deputy Mayor to the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral.
Does anybody wish to second that nomination?
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? I'll take that as no, and by assent. There being no further nominations, I declare that Councillor Jeff Green is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor.
I would like to invite Councillor Jeff Green to the stage and take up his position on the right of the Mayor, and for the Mayor to invest him with the Deputy Mayor's chain of office.
I now invite Councillor Jeff Green to make his declaration of acceptance of office.
Thank you. I, Jeff Green, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral, declare I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and abilities. I undertake to observe the Code of Conduct which is expected of members of the Metropolitan Borough of Wirral.
That now concludes the agenda. Excuse me, hang on. That now concludes the agenda for this evening, so I declare the meeting closed. Members, the second part of the annual general meeting will take place and will deal with the business, will commence at 6 p.m. next Wednesday, the 26th of May, in the same place here. Thank you very much indeed, and thanks for everyone who turned tonight.